No, change the subject right now. Don't even bring that up.
But
don't give that Don't give that video any more cred, please.
Welcome to Music Musing. Every once in a while, my brother George and I would have these conversations about music. Music is our passion, and it's a huge part of our lives, and we decided to share those conversations with you. So if you love music, sit back and enjoy this podcast. Welcome back to Music Musing. Got my brother on the line.
How we doing?
Good. I have a returning guest. I don't think it's our first returning guest. I think Pete Pardo is the one that usually returns the most, but we have had Jon Berkenfield from BerkReviews.com on before, talking about music and movies and music and vice versa. And we're having him back today to kind of tie those things in, I guess together again. But welcome back, Jon Berkenfield.
Oh, hey, Craig. Guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate being back on.
Yeah, we share a little bit of a history with the band Contrast, local band from Florida. We had Josh on a couple weeks ago. He was the drummer. We're kind of putting the band issues back together, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, if you've listened to that episode, I'm the second bass player that's referred to in that episode. So
I didn't. Please tell me I mentioned you by name, right? I at least said you.
You did. Okay, but it's okay because you were talking. I don't think you said the other. I don't remember the other bass player's name anymore. But
JT.
I don't think you said his name either. So.
Yes, JT and JB. I don't know if you put that together back then or.
Oh, sure. You were working through the alphabet.
Exactly.
There you go.
But today, I'm actually gonna. I didn't warn Jon about this. I'm just gonna throw it out there. So. And I don't know if Jon knows what that is, but.
Is this MTV?
Yes.
Yeah. I actually saw a documentary at Tribeca last year about MTV, like the whole creation of the network, which I was really, really big fan of. I haven't seen it available anywhere since I saw it at the festival. It should be. Usually it takes about a year for a film from a festival to get distribution, so it's probably out there somewhere. But it's MTV. I mean, God, it changed the music industry completely.
Yeah, and that's probably a good place to kick it off. Again, we kind of talked a little bit before we got in here. You mentioned that you actually taught videos you're a teacher, so you've actually taught what's behind videos. George and I grew up in an era where MTV was it. That's what started everything. You're right. It kind of changed how music was both accepted, perceived, presented. I mean, name it, because that changed the entire world of music.
Definitely.
Dare we say, video killed the radio star? I mean, did it kill it?
I mean, it definitely altered it, right? Like, especially, I feel like it was big in the 80s, but I think the 90s with TRL, you really see the influx in big production music videos, where the videos were having the same budgets of some smaller films,
right? That
they're lasting 4 minutes and a movie's lasting 2 hours, and yet they're like, Puff Daddy went really big with his All About the Benjamins video, and Korn got Todd McFarlane to draw their Freak on the Leash video. Like, you just had this influx and this competition between all the genres for that number one spot on TRL every week. And I think that was kind of the pinnacle of music videos, was in that late 90s. I mean, in the 80s, you still see bands who, if they weren't attractive enough, they weren't getting as popular. But which I think that's... and then you had innovative people like David Bowie and Rolling Stones who did really unique music videos. They saw it as an art form and not just a way of... not just performing the song with a camera on you, but actually crafting a narrative or telling a story visually while having a song that kind of guides it, more like a short film, which is where I really like to look at music videos, is that they are the best ones are short films. They are just set to music.
Well, right. Well, even Thriller. I mean, when Thriller came out in '83 or whatever, that was a huge production. It was this whole storyline. He actually had who was the director? Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I can see his bearded face right now. But I mean, Michael Jackson hired, like early music videos. There was like the radio version, and they had like the video version of Thriller, which was like
Vincent
7 or 8 minutes long.
Is it Van Price doing the intro?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
Vincent Price.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of. I mean, he had a. Man, it's going to kill me. One of you guys look up who directed.
I kind of figured that the guy who taught videos would tell us what the video director was for that, but
John Landis, who did American Werewolf and
yes,
there it is. Yes, and that's what I mean. So I mean, even then, early '80s, that was '82, '83, somewhere in there when that came out. So I mean, it started there and went. I mean, it went into the stratosphere. Like to John's point, TRL. Everybody was more. Not to reference Puff Daddy too much, more money, more problems. I mean, it was, they really did have that. I mean, that was, to be seen was as or more important than to be heard. I think I got to a certain point.
Yeah. And, you mentioned Thriller. That obviously that's one of the biggest ones. But at that time frame, without budgets like that, they had to get creative and they had to tell the stories. I mean, obviously the next big one to go to is Take On Me by a-ha, where budgets aside, it was way ahead of its time, but it was doing what you said, John. It was starting to take a song and put it into something visual, so a story, crafting something that showed what the song was saying.
Yeah, and in a really innovative way with that particular video. The hybrid animation live action is always a challenge, and yet it's done pretty effortlessly in that video. It holds up still to this day.
Yeah, and not so much for the band, but the video does.
Correct.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I think that twist in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, it not only changed what videos were, but it also changed what representation got out in the music world. Like you didn't have a lot of rock at that time. And George and I have talked about this many times. I know you listen to the podcast, but it really turned the corner at the end of the 90s, probably mid 90s to late 90s. There were still some rock bands that were on top out there, but it had turned a lot to hip hop and rap and even country, videos becoming such a big thing. So I don't know if video killed the radio star, but
ask Billy Squier. Rock Me Tonight, that killed his career. That video for that song killed Billy Squier's career. That's just one instance, I would say. But I mean, that's pretty much when he was his again, we're using air quotes liberally here. His little dance routine in "Rock Me Tonight" was pretty much what ended his musical career. So that's one instance where it actually video did kill a radio star.
So when you say you teach videos, and do you guys talk about that side of it, what it did to music, or is it more just for the production value?
It's more for the production value. It's a great way to for short form storytelling, because most of the students have a favorite song, and while I think there is a misconception that music videos have died with MTV basically not showing them anymore, and VH1 has gone more TV, but they've just changed their medium. Now YouTube and Vivo specifically on YouTube have tons of music videos, and a lot of artists have broken out through making music videos. Lil Dicky is a really great example of a rapper whose whole career started as a YouTube rapper. He's got high production value music videos, and now he's got a TV show on FX that not enough people are talking about because it's amazing. It's a really, really funny TV show. But
when you say he's got high value videos, is he paying for those himself, or is he hiring people to do them, or how's that working?
That's a really good question. I personally just came across him, and so I'm still learning about him. But I've watched. He's only done one album so far. And he definitely came up, I think, doing like a series of different type of YouTube videos. But then he's got 2 animated videos that are both full of like big name artists. So he's definitely got connections in the industry. And then like the music video that I really think that's going to be on a list that I'm going to bring up is called Pillow Talk, or Pillow Talkin'. And John C. Reilly guest stars in it, and like there's like whole backdrops vanish off, and like like there's a caveman sequence in the background, like as he's telling the story. It's definitely a higher production than you would imagine for a straight to YouTube type of music video. And that's the thing, though. A lot of the videos that are coming out from the bigger artists are still high production values. They're just, they're not going to be on MTV at 3:00. They're just going to be on YouTube, where you can watch them whenever you want. You can loop them, you can share them. They're going to go viral. And so the medium is still valid. And that's, so in my classes, we shift mostly to film talk now. But when these classes started, we did TV production. And so music videos was kind of an intro into making movies, because a lot of times with the other projects, they'd be 30 seconds to a minute, but to do a music video, you're looking at 2 to 5 minutes, unless you're going Tool, as you guys are maybe up to. So them taking a song that they are familiar with, and now, okay, well, what's the story of the song? And not every song has a story, but a lot of them do, and then they're able to craft it and try to do it visually. A lot of them are love songs, so a lot of times it's just two people staring at each other lovingly, but they get creative with that process. And so to get them to that point, we talk about the different types of music videos, the performance, there's the avant-garde kind of videos, which can still be performance. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with OK Go, but they have the song Here It Goes Again.
Oh god, that video is amazing.
But OK Go with the treadmills is pretty impressive, and that whole like to use your word, avant-garde, that you had to find a way to for an aha moment. You have to find a way to break some sort of barrier, and the choreography in that OK Go video, where they're switching treadmills and stuff is it's so eloquently simple, but it's brilliant. I mean, because there's not much to it, but it's really impressive the way it turned out.
Right, like it's basically one shot. The camera's tableau style. We're just looking at the room, but that choreography and the treadmills bouncing back and forth, it's insane. It's awesome to watch, and it's I think it's all like one take for the most part too, which makes it even more impressive when you think back on it.
Absolutely, no, and that's kind of the cool part. Like like Craig started to talk about the difference between the different I hate the word generational, because I mean, from 80s to 90s to 2000, I mean, yes, it's 30 years, but it's 20 to 30 years worth of production value. You talked about this YouTube rapper coming up. Well, there's 8-year-olds making millions of dollars, doing YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. So production value by scale, to me, almost now is, I think they spent $7 million on the Thriller video, which was, in 1983 was obscene money. Whereas, we've got 8-year-olds making $8 million a year doing YouTube videos now. So it's, with inflation and by comparison, I mean, the production value almost has to come up, because those of us, if we, iPhone, if we carry an iPhone or any kind of whatever camera we're using now, I mean, they're making basically full-length movies on iPhones almost at this point. So we're in a technologically advanced state, but we're also, I mean, I don't know, John, if you think if the music itself, if the production value of the music is as good or has kept up or went with inflation as well as the production value.
I don't know if I like a lot of modern music. I'm not opposed to it.
Right.
I don't. My tastes have definitely, I would say, expanded a lot as I've gotten older. Stuff I used to be like super critical about, I now tend to like a little more.
Right.
The biggest shift is like, I don't hate pop music, which I used to like hate pop music like so much. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, no, it's fine. And I actually find a lot of it much easier to listen to for exercising and stuff. But as far as videos go, I do think, I don't know, I don't think the music's necessarily gotten better. I don't think it's inherently worse. It's just different. They have different things to talk about. I know that, like, I loved Korn for a long time.
Right.
And when I listened to their most recent album, I'm like, he's still singing about the same stuff he was singing about like 20, 30 years ago.
He's still angry.
Right, like haven't you gotten over that yet?
But a lot of people in that time frame were angry. I mean, they hated life. I mean, Hurt from Nine Inch Nails was around about the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah, or 91, 90, somewhere in there, yeah.
But that Head Like a Hole. I mean, come on.
Right. But now Trent Reznor makes scores for movies, and Jonathan Davis is still writing lyrics that sound like he was, still in high school.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny. You touched on a really interesting point that I was going to make earlier, and so I said video killed the radio star, but did YouTube kill the MTV star?
Oh, absolutely.
It definitely made. I don't know if it's the reason MTV stopped showing videos. I think MTV did that on their own with the reality TV thing. I think YouTube filled a void. There was nowhere for the music videos to go, and YouTube was like, well, you can put them here. And they're like, oh, all right. And, it kind of fills the need, because I think, like, the best part about TRL was you were hoping the videos you wanted to see would be on it, right? Because you were voting for it. So now you don't have to vote. You just go watch it. Like, go to YouTube, and there it is. There's
accessibility,
it's there now. You can make playlists. The app I use the most to listen to music is YouTube Music, because I have a subscription to GooglePlay, because of it has like a big family plan, and it's multi-platform, so it works on Android or iPhone, and my family is split with that.
Right.
But we have YouTube Music, and it allows you to either watch the videos or you can just do the audio. It does pretty decent like station selection and stuff. That's one of the things that I miss about having Pandora, and like why I'm tempted to pay for it, is I think their algorithm is the best at like meshing up songs that you'll actually like.
Yep.
But I'm just not willing to pay for it right now. But YouTube Music does a pretty good job with it. And but then sometimes like I like to watch the videos, and I've come across videos that I wouldn't have ever seen had I not started using YouTube Music as my go-to player. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Nothing More.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they have a music video called Don't Stop that I really like the video for, and, like, Jacoby from Papa Roach is in it.
Right.
And I like that, like, a lot. And it's not an amazing video, but I think it's a solid video. It's, again, it's kind of the hybrid performance narrative. Like, there's a story, but really it's about the performance of the band in the end. But, like... One of my, I like Tom Petty a lot. I'm not sure. I feel like you guys are on board with Petty, right?
Yeah, we're on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know where you're going with it too. It's an amazing video.
Are we talking Into the Great Wide Open?
No, actually, I was thinking of the one with the Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, that one is also really good. But Into the Great Wide Open has a big time celebrity actor in it, and at his infancy of his career. Johnny Depp is the lead in Into the Great Wide Open.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's super great. The song is very, very like narrative driven. Like he's literally, the lyrics are him telling the story of this guy who wants to be a musician,
right? And
that's Johnny Depp in the video. And it's just like as Petty sings the song, you see Depp going through the motions, and it's great. It's super from the 80s. It's one I used to use as an example for like narrative storytelling, because the song literally is him telling the story, but the visuals just add to it a lot. So you should definitely check that one out. It is on YouTube.
And I'll probably link to some of these, but it brings up another good point. So did musicians start writing for that? Because if you think about when videos kind of quote unquote started, there were some videos like Bohemian Rhapsody was a video, but it was more just kind of them singing. But they didn't write songs. I mean, if they wrote songs for a story back then, it wasn't because they were trying to get a video out of it or thinking, hey, this will turn into somebody like Johnny Depp, singing or talking about the words of my song. I wonder if that started to skew what people were writing, like if the writing styles changed quite a bit based off of videos.
I personally don't think so, because they're singers, songwriters, storytellers. There's songs that tell stories. There are bands like, we'll pick on Korn, since they're the horse in this podcast. Like you said, they're writing the same stories, they're writing the same lyrics, the same songs. And I mean, because if you've ever seen a Nine Inch Nails video, the lyrics are borderline incoherent mostly, and like except for Hurt. But I mean, they're not. It's basically just performance videos. So a song that's a melancholy story like Into the Great Wide Open, where he wants to be a rock star and he goes out and he becomes an alcoholic and the whole 9 yards, and it's it tells a story. So I think videos to those songs are, I'd hate to use the term easier to make, but they've already kind of written themselves. Whereas if you pick a different song that doesn't really you almost have to go with a band's performance style of video, because there's not really I think singer-songwriter videos would be a slam dunk, whereas songs that don't really, or they're just rock and roll songs.
Well, but you don't think it skewed any
I'm sure
bigger
it did
name
to some
bands?
Point.
Okay, that's kind of where I was going. I probably should have been more clear with that. I think there are bands that probably wrote songs that they probably didn't care for, or didn't really wasn't in their wheelhouse, or didn't like, to transfer them over to video. I think there was such a surge when MTV started that they probably pushed bands in directions they didn't want to go.
Well, Biography, I Want My MTV is the documentary that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And they get into that a bit with interviewing different artists and stuff, and kind of discussing it, like, how did you feel having to do a video? Because the labels were like, you have to have a video. Like, what song is going to be your video? It was no longer just which song is your single. It's which song is going to be the video. But there is, again, there's the different types of music videos. There are the narrative ones that are really cool, but there are the performance videos. And, there's some big name bands that have just had the performance videos. A lot of modern bands, that's what the videos are, because it's the easiest thing to capture.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if the video isn't focused on that, there's still usually a performance piece to it. Into the Great Wide Open, the chorus section is the band playing instruments. It has an Alice in Wonderland vibe too, actually. That's the thing. There's definitely some Alice in Wonderland elements in that video.
Right.
It must just have been a thing Petty was into. But
Don't Come Around Here No More was the other one. It just stuck in my head what it was.
Right.
And but then there's the kind of Radiohead's music videos are always pretty interesting.
Man.
Paranoid Android being huge. Karma Police is a really great video.
Yeah, Karma Police is definitely a cool video.
And then the Gorillaz, their whole career is built around the animated, their whole, sorry, not their whole career, but their whole aesthetic is built around the animated characters of their which is all lends itself perfectly to the music videos.
Kind of like
Kiss.
Kiss.
And I think kind of like Kiss. They have a gimmick.
Right.
Kiss didn't. Again, they were kind of before that time, and if you think of a lot of Kiss videos, they were basically just them playing on stage, or them, dressing up, their, getting in their makeup and stuff, and doing stuff for a camera more than it was a story. But you talked in animation, and that brings up one of my favorite ones, the Disturbed Land of Confusion video.
Yeah.
Oh, that video is still the images in that video still stick in my head from being animation. And if you're talking about animation and you talk about crazy videos like Paranoid Android and stuff like that the Tool videos, man, I think Tool wins for the creepiest videos ever created.
For sure. 100% agree with that. Tool's videos are
no argument.
As unsettling as some of their lyrics are, and
exactly.
Yeah, Sober. I think I was a kid when I saw Sober for the first time, and I was traumatized. I was not into horror, and I was like, "What am I watching? This is so weird."
Yeah, Sober's that's the stop action animation one.
Yeah,
most of them are. Yeah,
they did a few of those.
Well,
not most,
mistaken. But some. Yeah.
Well, I know Schism is live people, if I remember right,
Sort
and kind of all distorted. Yeah, well, live action people, but I think that mixing animation is something that doesn't get done enough, as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, that Land of Confusion one kind of it leaves a lot of room for you to interpret and to change things and to make things different. I don't think that's done enough.
I agree.
Yeah, I also I like those a lot, and I feel like there's a musician. I don't know if you guys have done an episode yet on parody, but you maybe should, and I maybe should be the guest.
We should,
because Weird Al. I think Weird Al is underappreciated, and his music videos are all masterpieces. I can't think of a single one of his videos that is half-assed. Sorry if that's not okay, but
Oh, that's really good.
But like his videos are all like, you know, he goes in costume and he's recreating the story, because most of the time when he does the parody,
that's true,
they're so like specific, like he's making so many references, the visuals just add to the song. So if you're like not familiar with what he's saying, or if you're not used to Weird Al style, the video just gives you those little nods. Like White and Nerdy is one that I can watch anytime.
Oh yeah.
You said him and videos, and the only thing I could come up with was fat.
Oh, but that one's great.
Yeah.
I know.
But see, the first one that came to my mind was Amish Paradise.
Right. That one really sticks out for me.
just...
But I know, Craig, you're a big Star Wars fan, man. His Phantom Menace, where he does American Pie, and tells all of Episode 1, like it's so great, and like the little nods to Star Wars and him wearing the Jedi robes and stuff. I mean, it's fantastic. And his last album, he did, I think half of the album he did a video for and dropped them one day a week, one a day for an entire week. So in 7 days we got 7 Weird Al videos, and they had like crazy cameos. Some were much easier, where like they were just all digital, like text-based stuff, because one of them was word crimes, and so like it was just a bunch of words on screen. But
nice.
Right.
But his video for Tacky, which was the Pharrell Williams Happy parody, he had tons of cameos from different celebrities who were all doing the happy dance from the Pharrell video. I mean, because he doesn't just parody the song, he parodies everything. But when I think of music videos, I like Weird Al and music videos to me go hand in hand. I think you see a lot of other comedic performers like Lonely Island. Their music videos are always top notch, because they started off as like a Saturday Night Live sketch ultimately.
Right.
And I think that I feel like that's an underappreciated part of the music world. I really like a lot of parody artists or comedic musicians like Bloodhound Gang. A lot of times aren't taken seriously, but I feel like
they had a good video too. What was it? Was it Bad Touch that was a funny video with them wearing the suits, the monkey suits or something?
That's absolute brilliance right there.
Right.
Lyrically, those guys are a lot smarter than they play on too. They write some good stuff. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, they say a lot in ways like, yes, they say things in comedic ways, but man, like his little double innuendos and double entendres are impressive, like at levels that you just can't match.
He has an entire song about innuendos.
I know. I love that song.
Me too.
It's brilliant. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So,
go ahead. I was going to bring up the Beastie Boys, not related to parody, but just in terms of like, depending on which time of their career, but they went through like Intergalactic and Sabotage are literal short films, right? Like Intergalactic.
Sabotage is probably in my top 5.
I mean,
absolutely,
it's a detective story ultimately, right? It's an action movie, it's fantastic, and
it's like a 70s detective. It's not like a detective; it's like a 70s detective story.
Yeah, that's just good stuff, though. Mm-hmm. Intergalactic too. I mean, it goes through the whole. I mean, it follows the, is after some packet of gravy or something. Isn't how? What one is that? No. Body Movin', I think, or one of those where it's this whole where he's after some sort of gravy packet or something. It's so interesting, so far-fetched, and like this ninja is after.
I'm so gonna have to look this up now because I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I'm reaching a little bit, but it's
we said gravy, so I was on board anyways. But
right,
well, yeah, it's something along those lines, but it is so over the top and like. I think the Beastie Boys were the best at working in the cheesy factor. Like, I mean, they truly it was very well done, but they did not take themselves serious for 1 second. Is the way it seemed. But their musical abilities, and the videos that went with them were top notch, and it always seemed like. That they never took it seriously, but they're very, very well done.
Mm-hmm. I completely
which is difficult to do.
So, go ahead.
I don't want to just keep listing off videos unless because it sounds like you wanted to say something.
I had a short direction to go in, and
okay.
There's a genre of not genre. Maybe there's a section of videos that I've always paid attention to. Where I think the subject matter doesn't match the music or the sound or what it is, and it works. And I think that it's a small section of videos, because a lot of times people, when they do that, it doesn't work. They'll throw a story in there or a look or a person in there that just doesn't fit what I think the song is telling, or the story it's telling, or the song itself. But a video like Weapon of Choice by Fatboy Slim.
Oh yeah.
The subject and the actions in the video don't scream out what that song, if you listen to the words itself. If you listen to the words itself, it doesn't match. But man, does that video just, it's again probably in my top 10 of videos to watch something like that put together. Not only with his talent, but with also the the videography and everything that's involved in that video. It just doesn't match that song, but it totally works.
Yeah, Christopher Walken dancing is a win, like, immediately.
Yes.
So
yes.
No argument here. You already got me hooked.
Well, but I thought there's so few of them out there, because I think they put so much effort into it. Like you said, the radio companies say, what's your video hit? What are we putting out as a video? So there's a lot of thought and process put into it. So most of the time they fit, but videos like that stand out to me because they don't fit, because somebody took something and said, hey, let's just do this. Let's go this route. Like Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel. Still one of my favorite videos. My kid loves that video, but it really doesn't have much to do with what he's talking about. But wow, technologically at the time, it was way ahead of its time. Still an awesome video. Still stands out as one of the top videos like ever.
I think
was there either?
Oh, go ahead, George.
No, I was going to change the subject, if not, I mean, slightly. Was there any, for either one of you, this is a question for both of you, did either one of you saw a video that turned you on to a band, like where the video was cool enough but the music was where you looked further into the band and the rest of their music was better?
I'm jumping in first.
Okay.
Because I know John's probably got one, but I'm jumping in first. Go With the Flow by Queens of the Stone Age changed how I listened to that band. I had heard one or two songs occasionally by them, but as soon as I saw the video, I went and looked up like everything that they'd put out since they started with Grohl playing drums. That video changed how I felt about Queens of the Stone Age and how I appreciated them.
I wouldn't have thought of them there, but I think that video did the same for me with them. Also, Dave Grohl playing drums for them also did that for me, because I was like, wow, he's playing drums again. But the new band, 21 Pilots, I got into them before they got popular. I do want to be a hipster with that. Because of my class, I was teaching music videos, and one of my students at the time was like, hey, Mr. Ree, have you ever heard of 21 Pilots? And I was like, no. Is that a band? Like, it sounds like a made up name. Which all band names sound like that, and I like to pick on my students' bands. But he showed me the music video for House of Gold.
Oh, that's a good video.
It's a really good video, right? And the ukulele is cool because it was unique at the time, and like the visuals in it are really, really interesting, and even like how the music starts to construct. And honestly, most of their music videos are really innovative and different. They have a performance piece, but they also have a narrative function, and that's kind of how their music works. And that video led me into their other videos. And like when I first heard House of Gold, I was like, yeah, it's a good song, but it's not really my type of music. And then it became like my favorite band for a while, where it was like the only album I was listening to was Vessel, and I introduced my daughter to them, and she got really into them, and then we've saw them twice now live because of this one music video that got us completely into the band. And again, before they were super popular, they were popular, but that was when they were like selling out House of Blues in Orlando, and now they're selling out like the Orlando Arena in Orlando. So
big difference.
Significantly different. So but that video did that for me for sure, and I kind of feel like Buddy Holly did that for me with Weezer.
Interesting.
Because the sweater song was weird when I heard it the first time.
Yeah, I didn't like the video for that one either. So,
which one was the
Buddy Holly was the one
Happy
for
Days?
Happy Days.
Happy Days.
That was
that was Happy Days. Okay, that was pretty cool.
So I was not to be hipster as well, but I was a fan of Weezer before they really kind of took off.
Before the Blue album.
Before the Blue album. Pinkerton was the first one.
I think it was their second one, if I'm not
Second
mistaken,
one.
but I might be wrong.
That's where I kind of jumped into them quite a bit, and got there was a guy I was going to college with at the time that was big into skateboarding, and he was kind of big into their earlier music. He was kind of a shredder when he started, the guitar player, Rivers Cuomo. Is that the singer, or that's guitar player? Right?
That's the singer. Yeah, Rivers Cuomo is the singer.
No, is he the one that played shred guitar?
I don't know. River he plays guitar and sings in the band, but there's two guitar players. So
one of them was big playing lead guitar, lots of scales and stuff, and wanted to be in that type of band. And then they started Weezer, and he kind of changed who he was. But I really dug them a lot. And then when that video came out, it was just kind of like icing on the cake. Wow, who thought of this? Mm-hmm. Who thought of putting themselves in a spot in a 50s TV show and making it work? Mm-hmm. And production value on that one was, I think, way ahead of its time as well.
Agreed. That video still looks amazing. They use clips from the show, and it's so seamless when you're watching it. It's impressive.
Yeah, good cuts. Definitely. I don't know how they aged the film of their on state or whatever whatever you call it. I guess their performance in Archie's there or whatever.
Yeah,
it
to
is,
match that. I mean, there's lots of tools out there that allow you to age video, but to match it and make it match exactly to that old 60s, 70s
it looked like
TV.
They were there.
Yeah, exactly. It's matching that up makes it's really hard. It's funny, I had Buddy Holly on my list to talk about, but I think that's a unique way of looking at it. The last thing I had on my list, and we can kind of go into favorites, was so there's a particular video that I love that is on the top of my list, and some of it was written because somebody in the band saw something, either a movie or another video or a story, read a story, and they wanted to write the song around that story and kind of put the feeling of that movie, that old movie or that old story into the video, or the song itself, but kind of in the video too. So the video for One by Metallica kind of goes back to that is it Johnny Got His Gun movie?
Yep.
Yeah. I racked my brain to try and think of any other bands that did that had taken a movie or a story and wrote a song / video about it, and I couldn't think of any other ones.
Man, yeah. I feel like there is one, and now I'm not going to be able to think of it. I feel like that's the thing that another band has done, where like they've taken inspiration. I haven't. Oh, man, I don't want to bring my daughter's into more modern music than I am, and I usually let her pick the music. I know Billie Eilish has a song. I don't know if there's a video, but it has a song about the movie Roma, which
interesting.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the song either, but I assume there's a video because that's kind of her thing. Is like she's the YouTube sensation,
right? Yeah.
But I don't know if the video would be inspired by Roma, and if so, if it's just like a one really long take that slowly pans from left to right or not. But that's a Roma joke for those of you listening. But there's got to be other artists, because I mean, art inspires art all the time, right? Like that's a big thing. So there has to be more out there. We're just not thinking of.
And that was my thought process. And it you would figure that with the knowledge that we have, I mean, we've all been listening to music, and kind of the same type of music for most of our lives. Mm-hmm. And we played music. We were into music. That's what we do. That's our life. That's why we have this podcast, and why we invite people like you on who care about music. And for me to think about that, and I didn't want to throw out subjects for this particularly on purpose, because I wanted us to kind of just riff off of it. But that one piece hit me that, wow, Metallica kind of wrote that for that movie. Both the words and the video kind of intertwine the movie into it. I could not think of any other song, video, or anything that did that tied something into it. So I figured I'd throw it to you guys. But.
Yeah. So I thought of a video that it totally takes Mad Max and intertwines it into the video. I don't think it has anything to do with the lyrics, but that's Tupac and Dr. Dre, California Love.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's clearly inspired by the movie, but
yes,
maybe not with the love, or maybe they don't even get what that movie was about or whatnot. But they definitely entwine the look and the style of that into it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's might be a separate genre in itself of making videos that kind of take on what's going on around you, or a famous movie, or things.
Well, I think some songs were written like for soundtracks, like use the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that. But I mean, as far as like using an old movie from, an old war movie from I think it was 50s or 60s, maybe, Johnny Get Your Gun,
Well,
or Johnny Get Your Gun, whatever it was. I think that's, and I'm not sure one was specifically written with that video production in mind. So it worked really well, but
I just thought of one. Spit It Out from Slipknot totally does The Shining.
Oh yes,
it's at the Overlook Hotel, and they replace characters with the different members of Slipknot. That one's a great one.
Yes.
But is that the words written towards it too?
No.
Yeah, see, that's
no.
I think those are two different things. I mean, I'm not picking fly specks out, but I think I respect that. I definitely do. I think that taking settings, kind of like the California one you talked about a second ago, I think taking settings and weaving that into the video is genius. I think we could probably come up with a lot more examples of that. And to pass back to what George said, I've read a couple articles where they've said that one was kind of written with the idea of that armless, legless, person that couldn't communicate. They wrote the lyrics kind of for that anyways. So that's why I used that one, being particular lack of better words. Wow. Okay. I quit. You guys go.
All right.
Yeah. You should have used the air quotes thing.
Yeah, I should have used the air quotes.
I thought I had one popped up, and then the Spit It Out popped in my head, and I think I lost the other idea that I had. But you mentioned, Alice in Wonderland and the Tom Petty video. Again, that's the same idea.
Yeah, true.
That it's the movie in the video, not necessarily inspiring the song.
Right.
Man, I had something that I was thinking was for sure that, but just I'm like scrolling through. I have a playlist on YouTube of a bunch of music videos that I really think are excellent, and a more recent one from a rapper, Childish Gambino, actor known as Donald Glover. He did the "This Is America" video a couple of years ago that went super viral because it is man, it's so powerful. It's funny.
My son actually likes that song too.
Yeah, I love that song a lot actually. I'm all over the place with my music taste, but and a recent video, there's a lot of artists are making songs under quarantine right now and have been releasing interesting videos, and Blink-182 did a really cool thing with their Happy Days song from their new album, not the Happy Days TV show, but I don't know if you guys have listened to the new Blink album, but I
haven't yet.
I love it, and I find it to be a little more lyrically mature because it's dealing with like Mark's was going through a depression and stuff, and so it's for them it's a little more it's still upbeat, but like if you listen to the lyrics, it's not. And this particular song is about having those good days, and so what they did was recruited their fan base to film themselves under quarantine performing the song, and then they meshed the video together. And they also have like Travis and Mark are at home doing their parts, but it cuts back and forth between all these fans, and it's really cool. And it came out like recently, and it's filmed at the portrait aspect ratio, which as a film person drives me nuts because that's but
I'm right there with you.
But it makes sense on that one. Because of what they're doing. It's supposed to be kind of like a TikTok type inspiration, and while I'm opposed to it in many ways, it works for that particular video.
I think, and Billie Joe Armstrong has been doing the same thing once a week as well. And some of the stuff that's come out of that is quite impressive to me. He did one with I'm a blank on the girl's name from he did Manic Monday with, is it the Go-Go's that did Manic Monday?
But Susanna Hoffs.
Yeah, but what's the band that did it?
Yeah.
Was it the Go-Go's?
No. Man.
Yeah, I'm gonna blank on it. Anyways, the guitar player and him did that and shared it, and she was just jumping up. You could tell it clearly it was in her house.
I think it was the Bangles.
Bangles, there you go.
There it is. Yeah.
You could clearly tell she was in her house, but she was just jumping around and getting into it, enjoying it. And I think he's probably, unfortunately, the winner at this point. I really like Green Day's early stuff, but it went downhill fast. But watching some of the stuff that he's done, some of the covers he's done. What was the one he did this week? I'm trying to think of the one he did this week that was really good. But he's kind of hitting it off. And you're right. There's a lot of bands and musicians. George, you just sent me one a couple hours ago.
Yeah, David Coverdale at his kitchen table with an acoustic guitar doing "Here I Go Again."
Yeah, wow. It's amazing. Yeah, it's phenomenal. He's like, it's, and then you get
my quote was, "I hate this song a lot less now."
Well, and then you get like the Puddle of Mud cover of
About a Girl.
Do
About a Girl, yeah.
Yeah, no, change the subject right now. Don't even bring that up.
But
don't give that don't give that video any more cred, please.
But Nirvana did have It Smells Like Teen Spirit was one of those iconic performance videos, right? Where
absolutely, yep.
Every year MTV at New Year's every year would do like a top 100 video countdown of like all time, and very rarely would the top 5 change. It was usually Thriller as 1 or 2. Smells Like Teen Spirit was always on that list. Buddy Holly jumped on there like in the mid 90s, where it just was always in the top 10. And yeah, like Smells Like Teen Spirit, when you look at it, it's really so simple, but man, did it just represent the grunge era like so perfectly.
And it's still one of those situational or area videos. It's because a band like that in high school probably wouldn't have happened for real, but they said it and made it so convincing that it was a pep rally, that they were there as a pep rally. Yeah, definitely. I'd forgotten about that video too. I didn't even have that on my list. It's such a great video. I wouldn't say that's a great video, but I think it's extremely iconic for its time. Extremely iconic.
And staying with grunge, that Black Hole Sun was like hugely impactful with Soundgarden's rise to from mediocrity. I mean, they had a great first album, and
that video freaks me out.
No, I know, but that's what I mean. It is there again with the disturbing part. It kind of threw them in like, oh, what's this all about? And here we go. It's this band, or this video is really creepy. Oh, they've already got 2 albums out, now, and then they just exploded with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, grunge was coming big anyway, but
well, I think as much as the video's cheesy, I think Walk This Way with Aerosmith and Run DMC did the same thing at their time.
Sure.
The video is very cheesy, but it's kind of still a story. It's a fun video to watch, but it's not very good.
But it's iconic where
exactly
the breakthrough when he comes through the wall, the breakthrough of rock and rap was kind of it was visually monumental as it was musically. They're going, they start it, and then he literally at the chorus breaks through the wall with his traditional scarves hanging from his microphone stand, and
merge those two. They merged those 2 sounds is what they did at that time.
Right, but that solidified both of those bands, because at the time Aerosmith was probably on the downward spiral. I mean, in the 80s, they were big late 70s, early 80s.
Speaking of that, what's the video with Alicia Silverstone?
Living on the Edge.
There was a
Crazy.
There was a group of them. She had 3 or 4 of them that she did with Aerosmith off that Pump album, I think.
With Liv Tyler's introduction.
Yes, right. I kind of wish I would have remembered those things. Now they're stuck in my head. Her falling off the bridge at the end with the thing. Whatever. I'm past it.
But yes, there's an iconic moment. Some of those videos transformed bands,
and genres.
Absolutely, I agree.
So, if you had to pick a top 3, because I know John does top 5, so I'm not gonna. We did that last time. If you had to pick a top 3 of videos, is there 3 that sticks out?
Man,
I don't care which one.
Yeah, it's hard to narrow down.
Go ahead, John.
It's hard to narrow down. I do have a list. I've said most of them throughout this, but
go ahead. What else you got that on your list?
Yeah, well, I don't think I have anything left. Well, I have a couple that I didn't mention. A more recent artist that I like this video a whole lot is Joyner Lucas. He's a rapper. He has a song called "I'm Not Racist." that it pits the conversation from a white perspective to a black perspective, and both air their grievances, and it's done through two different actors, so you don't actually see the rapper there. It's the first time I saw it, I was just like, I didn't know who Joyner Lucas was. It shocked me and jarred me to a point that I don't know that I would normally put it in the top 3, but since I don't want to just repeat things, I feel like that one's a good one to put there. And I do kind of want to repeat a couple. I really like, I can't get past Buddy Holly. I just, that video is it's like comfort food for me.
It's a good song too. It's not like it's just the video is good. It's a really good song.
And it brings me back to a good time, especially right now. It brings me back to like when I was a teenager and I had very little worries, and like everything was like, the worst was like, is that person going to talk to me? It's not, it's not, oh, am I going to get coronavirus? Like, it was a very good space to be in. So right now that video is very strong. And I mentioned Freak on a Leash earlier, and Korn was my huge inspiration to me in the late 90s. I'm not 100% proud of that now, but at the time it was. And like Freak on a Leash, I was really into comic books, so like having Todd McFarlane as a part of it, because like I love Spawn, and him being attached to that video and that whole album cover, and I really liked the band. I was like, I had their VHS, like it was like their making of the second album, I think.
Can you explain for the kids what a VHS is, please?
Yes, it was but that video, man, I actually think they have a lot of cool videos in that time period, but Freak on a Leash is just so cool, and they have that whole part with it's the bullet, you're tracking the bullet throughout the video, and it's hybrid animation, live action. And then it gets to the room, and it just is bouncing around, and there's that room of like all the bullet holes and the lights flooding through it. There's so many cool visuals in that. I just really, really love that video. And I didn't speak about it a whole lot. And if I had to pick one Weird Al video, and we'll make that because there's a lot. I think his videos are underrated, but
you could just put like him in your top 3 and just like all.
That's literally on my list. That's what I have written down because I love it. But I think I'm going to go with a lesser heard song, but I don't know if you guys remember, R. Kelly did like a whole Trapped in the Closet series. So Weird Al's parody of that is Trapped in the Drive-Thru, and it's one of his longest songs. It's like a 10-minute song, and it's an animated video, but I adore that song so much, and I love the video because it's just, a husband and wife decide to go to the drive-thru, and then them like getting their order, and just like the way he elevates it, like R. Kelly elevates the being trapped in the closet. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Trapped in the Drive-Thru from Weird Al. We'll put that in my top 3.
George, you got 3 that you can narrow down on the spot.
Well, when Craig and I were younger, we would come home from school, and we've mentioned it before on this podcast, the V32 thing. I always remember Wasted Years by Iron Maiden.
Ooh.
Like early, I mean, this is early 80s when that song come out, mid 80s maybe. But it was performance with like behind the scenes footage, like of them touring, getting on the plane,
getting the sets
off
and
the
stuff
plane,
together on backstage and everything.
Yeah, and backstage green room stuff of them, goofing off and stuff like that. And it really kind of showed. It's a really, the song is more or less about being on the road, being touring, like missing their life for being on tour, and it was interlaced with concert footage of them on tour and being on tour, like on the bus, on the plane, and behind the scenes and stuff like that. And at the end, they're like they flash through all of the Eddie the Head covers to their from their albums and stuff like that. So it was always, I always just
stuck with you.
I just really loved this. Always really loved the song, and just the video always stuck. I mean, I can pretty much remember the video almost frame by frame because it was on literally every day. But, a second is "Do the Evolution" by Pearl Jam.
I don't even remember that video.
100% animated, but the song is very intense, and the visual, the I hate the word cartoon. The animated visuals are very almost graphic, and it's very, very intense.
Interesting.
It really,
I don't even remember that video.
it sticks out to me. Like, I mean, it's a and I'm not even a huge Pearl Jam fan. That song is one of if I have to pick a favorite by Pearl Jam, I like the harder, heavier stuff that they got into a little bit. And
Spin the Black Circle.
Yeah, and I mean, I was, I do like Garden, and 10 is an epic album as far as the landscape of music goes, but I'm over it to a great extent. And third, I mean, I was never really a huge fan of music videos. I always thought, well, no, I mean, I always thought they were unnecessary, because I always go for I'm more of a lyricist. I'm more of a what's this song about? And Craig touched on earlier, one would probably have to be the other one in my top three, because the video actually mimicked the words, like it was actually with intent. I love the song, always been a Metallica fan to a great extent, and that's the only one that's ever really stuck out to me as far as that means what the song means. So I love satire, I love Weird Al and that whole concept, and I'm not opposed to any videos or even performance videos. I mean, if it's the band on stage, lip syncing their song with people they paid to stand in a room and play the song over and over again or whatever, it's cool. I'm down with that. But I'm always more like, I prefer a stripped down acoustical performance of, like we've mentioned before, quarantine videos of where it shows these artists' talents, rather than a record label saying you have to put on lipstick and leather assless chaps and jump off a stack of speakers so we can sell your album. I always have trouble equating the two. I understand the necessity, but I never got the connection. I mean, for lack of a better way of putting it, sound and visual are obviously interconnected.
Yeah.
When I'll watch movies with intent, and if the songs in the movies like Dazed and Confused, where the soundtrack's awesome or whatever it is, I'm okay with that. Specifically, like when Craig and I were coming up in the 80s and 90s, where, like you said, Motley Crue, Wasp, all these hair metal bands were flooding MTV, and it was the same stupidity. I mean, it was the same. I got over it really quick, and there were very few standouts, and so maybe that turned me off of the necessity of it. So I preferred more of a performance style video, unless it was lyrically poignant to the video was lyrically poignant. It was
reflective,
like Into the Great Wide Open, where it's telling the story and you're watching the story. I didn't really care if Warrant's Cherry Pie doesn't really have much of a story, so I didn't really care what the video looked like.
But I think that's where I think you see the shallowness in those videos to the lyrical content too. Yeah. Like they do kind of reflect each other.
Absolutely. Right. That's what you made my point perfectly for me, and thank you for that. This is trash, so why do you keep showing me, and I have to see it and hear it? It's not, at that point I was overloaded with it, and I kind of just, so I backed away. And the music I started listening to at that time wasn't really Headbangers Ball, maybe. Yeah. I got to see the video for Walk by Pantera, or Indians by Anthrax, or something along those lines, but they didn't see the light. The music I was listening to, the videos didn't see the light of day much, and they were almost all performance videos except Madhouse by Anthrax, which was comically.
Oh, it's funny because that was set in a insane asylum, so it kind of goes back to that setting,
right? So
thing we talked about.
So I'll pick that one for my third one. Now I'll pick Madhouse by Anthrax or so.
Such a good song. Interestingly enough, I actually mentioned two of mine already in what we've talked about tonight. I would say that the third one I'm going to mention probably falls in the middle. I would say that I still will always be attracted to Take On Me. The Take On Me video is just it has everything. It has a good song, a good story, good graphics. Even for today, if you watch that video, it's still. You could watch that video on silent without the music and get everything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The entire story comes across without hearing anything. Yep. And I love storytellers that can do that. Storytellers that can get things across without speaking or without the music, but still have a really good music behind it. Mm-hmm. That impresses me. Queens of the Stone Age, the Go With The Flow is it's so simple, but it kind of is what you, George, you were saying about One by Metallica. Yeah. The feeling of the song comes across in the way that video was made, and the energy in that video. I mean,
or they're in the back
they're
of
in a car. They're driving like 100 mile an hour down the road. Yeah. I mean, that conveys what that song does. That song is, it's fast. It's quick. It hits
rock
hard.
And roll.
My third one is one that we hadn't talked about, but it's a new video for me. It's actually not too old. But it's the Sound of Silence, the Disturbed version.
Oh.
The video that goes with that is chilling. And I've always liked that song anyways. His version of it changes it into almost a dirge. And to take it and then put the visuals to it as well, the visuals in that video blow me away. I mean, it like I said, it probably teeters on number 2, but it could be number 1 for me. I love the video for that version of Sound of Silence.
Have you either one of you saw they've set now, since we're in quarantine and in this part of our lives right now, they actually recut a music. I don't know who did. I don't know if Disturbed did, but someone cut Empty Streets of New York and All Over the World to that Disturbed Sound of Silence. Oh, and I literally have goosebumps just saying the words out loud, just telling you guys, if you get a chance, please check that out too. Anybody listening to this podcast, they intertwined the quarantine, different videos of, it's black and white.
They probably took places like Vegas where it's usually packed with people.
I mean, but it's all over the world. It's in the They're in the Vatican. They're in New York City. It's empty train stations, and the one person will walk by with a mask on type of thing. And if you think the video for the original video for that song is chilling,
I do.
You should see that. I do. Because it even twists that into a third meaning of where we're at right now. So,
kind of circling back to the beginning where, John, you were talking about the production value of videos nowadays being something astronomical, even compared to movies at some points. To watch that video and to see that they took the time to put what was being said into a visual state. And I know, George, we should have started this whole podcast with I don't like videos very much because we could have just railed you the whole time. But videos like that change how I feel about videos. I'd really kind of started to feel the same way you did, George, about it. But I think, John, you've brought a lot of newer videos up that I'm going to go look at.
Sure.
I'm going to go kind of peek at and see.
That's what this is about.
What's he talking about? Because it's not my regular genre, but I do appreciate visuals. And that's why I think that Sound of Silence Disturbed one affects me so much, is because the visuals in it are just way above what I would ever expected that song to be.
Yeah, so. I think with music videos, because I agree with what a lot of George said, there's just like with movies, there's a lot of stuff out there that's just put together just to put butts in seats and make some money. But then there's ones that are crafted and they are artistically valid and they have something to say. And I think those are the standouts that last the test of time, like Aha and the film Sing Street. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. It's one I've been recommending for years, but as musicians and music lovers, it's a movie that you should definitely watch. But it actually is heavy set in the mid '80s, and the music video becomes kind of the entry point for this kid's like pathway into being a musician. And it's there's a moment where a character says, you know, it's music and it's visuals and all intertwined together. It's art, and I just think that's the way to look at the good videos that are out there. And again, there are plenty of bad examples, or repetitive examples at the very least. But there's also the ones that stand out. Like we said, realistically, all of us should have said Thriller for number one, because I don't know if there's a music video that can top that. But
I agree.
But that's just it, though. It's like it's one most people are familiar with, but there's tons of other ones out there that less people are familiar with, and that's what I'm hoping to encourage people to seek them out.
So here's my parting shot. That was a great tie-up, but I'm going to give you a parting shot.
Okay.
I just thought of it, too. Does Thriller stay in that number one spot if you cut the intro and the exit off?
If it's just them dancing as zombies kind of thing?
If it's just the song starting with him snapping and them dancing as zombies. Does it really live up to... I'm not disagreeing with you. Mm-hmm. I would say that if we had to take videos as a whole, whatever genre, and put a number one out there, it's probably still going to be number one. I prefer Take On Me as a number one, but you're right. Thriller is always going to get picked as the number one. But that whole, it turns it into almost a movie.
Yeah.
That whole opening scene and that whole ending with him turning around in the eyes. If you take those off, does that video still live up to its hype?
I think the whole package is important, so I think maybe not. I think the framing device that they're on a date at a movie, and then as they're walking home, he starts telling the story of Thriller. I think all of that really adds to the experience of watching it. And the laugh at the end, the Vincent Price laugh as it fades off, is huge. So yeah, I think it needs everything to stand up under there, and not that it's not good. Like the dances are iconic. Obviously, I don't know how many times I've had to watch a high school group do that dance, but,
or a wedding,
right,
or a bar mitzvah. So.
Right.
But the video as a whole, I mean, because that part, the MTV would do the truncated version of it where they would only show like. They wouldn't do the whole intro all the time because it was long. I think it was like a 7 or 8 minute video with everything on it.
Right.
Right.
So they would do just that part, and it was never as good as watching it from beginning to end.
That's true. I'm not ashamed to admit I was
too young,
8 to 11, somewhere in there.
Way too young.
And there was a solid 2 to 3 year span that I would wake up some nights when he would spin around with those yellow eyes and say, "Go away." I couldn't get that out of my head. I was at that point in my life where I hadn't seen anything like that yet, and it scared the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. When he was doubled over and he turned around, that's when I knew that the visual part of that song was way more important than because it's played at every Halloween party. It's standard issue.
Yeah.
You cannot have a Halloween party and not play Thriller. You can't have a holiday radio station and not play Thriller. And it's like we've thrown the word iconic around. If you're going to start taking parts away from videos, and none of them would be any good because if you take away the animation, is Aha's any good? No.
That's a good point. I'll take that as a good point. I
think the entire encapsulating the entire production of Thriller, no, it'll never be toppled. And why should it be? It's that tells a story, and then the song, and then music translates that, but it's bookended by the actual, it really grabs you. Then the music plays, and then it throws you out, at the end there when he spins around smiling with the eyes in again. So I think it's going to be, it gets my vote for number one regardless of genre. I think
that's the image I'm going to use when we promote this podcast is the yellow eye, just to creep you out at this point.
Whatever. I'm not ashamed.
So, hey, John, where can we find you? What do you got going on?
You can find me at BurkeReviews.com, where I review films, generally new releases. That's kind of hard to do right now. My world has been rocked as I can't go to the theater. But I also do a couple of podcasts. Most are through BurkeReviews.com. Burke Reviews MovieCast and Bloody Awesome Movie Podcast, where right now we're doing the Bampocalypse Now miniseries. We're watching films inspired by either pandemic type things or apocalyptic scenarios, isolation, or dystopian type societies ruled by crazy dictators who want to put us in harm's way. Just because.
That's a movie?
I mean, it's a series of different movies. Like, in fact, Craig, we just recorded our episode about the movie Brazil today.
Oh, what a great. Okay, we got to stop right now. You finish telling people where they can find you. We'll have that conversation later.
But yeah, so BurkeReviews.com for everything I do, basically. And on social media, I'm at Burke Reviews.
John, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
George, we'll be back in a couple weeks, right?
Yep, I'll be here.
Okay, I'll catch you guys later.
Have a good one.
All right, see ya.
Yep, see ya. We want to talk to you about music, so reach out to us at musicmusingfeedback@gmail.com.
You can also find us on most social media sites by searching Music Musing or George or Craig Seibert, SYBERT.
And you can also find us on Twitter as MusicMusing_ as well.
Thank you for listening to this Music Musing podcast.